it's a broken society and hip hop is hurting things. But
It
I
has
also want
nothing
to
to do
talk
with race and everything to do with culture.
Shootout at a gas
should
station.
never,
caught
if
on
you've
camera.
got a
that
hard
engages in a
time
socialist
your life,
direction
never
becomes
get
less
your
free,
way
less
done.
prosperous.
Hey guys, I'm back again. For you people that do not know me, maybe you're new viewers, my name is Josiah, and I attend Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and a lot of people don't know this, I am a sociology minor. So today, we're going to be talking about the social sciences. We're going to be talking about them through the lens of gas stations. Earlier this year, J. Cole dropped and Drake dropped, which means that the big three actually have something in common that's pretty interesting to me, and it is songs about gas stations. So I'm going to be analyzing those today. Before I get into the video, I want to thank you guys for showing me love on these first few videos. We're on the road to 50 subscribers, the big five. Wait, is it backwards? The big 5-0. All the love you guys show me is great. If you want to subscribe, like down below or up above, wherever it's at. And let's get into our first song, How Much a Dollar Costs by Kendrick Lamar. Before I get into this song, I know some of you may be asking, Josiah, what the heck is sociology? I will tell you. Sociology is a very important social science. Simply put, it is the study of societies and how social stratification, the socialization of children and adults, and socioeconomic factors can affect how people end up going about their lives in the world. So just from that explanation, maybe you can put two and two together on why Kendrick Lamar is such a sociologist with the way that he goes about his music. But I wanted to highlight a few specific things. One, Kendrick is obviously one to speak on social issues, whether that was his iconic 2016 Grammys performance, his instrumental role in the Black Panther movie on the soundtrack, or his constant criticisms of racial and economic problems in the US throughout all of his music. So with that in mind, let's get into the song. How Much a Dollar Cost is the 11th song on his album To Pimp a Butterfly. Almost everybody knows this album. It's one of his best, if not his best album. It follows the story of his interaction with a homeless man at a South African gas station. Kendrick spends the entirety of this song looking down upon this man and talking crazy about him. Really, he was saying some wild stuff. And in the song's climax, he reveals himself to be God in human form. I would argue that this is one of Kendrick's best songs, even though it's from so long ago, and it's highly acclaimed by a lot of his biggest supporters. I could make a whole video on all of the religious allusions he makes throughout the song. There's a lot of key lines that key you into the fact that this man was not just a normal homeless man at the gas station. But I want to focus on Kendrick's appeal to sociology throughout the song. Specifically, I want to speak on something that's very related to sociology, but is sometimes misconstrued with it, which is socialism. Socialism is an economic institution, whereas sociology is a science. But socialism dates back very far in the United States, back to the 19th century, where unions and labor rights collectives evolved into social programs that are still used today, such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and other New Deal and Great Society initiatives. Today, a lot of people tend to look down on social programs. I'm sure maybe you've heard the opinion of why give people handouts and why would I spend my money on taxes so that this other person who doesn't work as hard as me can get ahead. So there's a lot of negativity towards social programs and socialism in the United States. And Kendrick actually mirrors a lot of that sentiment throughout this song. This is where How Much a Dollar Cost comes into play, specifically in the second verse. Kendrick is still explaining his anger at the man, and he has the following lines in the song. I never understood someone begging for goods, asking for handouts, taking it if they could. Important to note that this isn't the real life perspective of Kendrick Lamar, the artist. He's using this to bring about a point throughout the song, posed to evoke thoughts from the viewer and the listener of the song as to whether Kendrick is in the right or wrong as a character for chastising this old man. The studies of sociology actually tackle very similar issues to the ones that Kendrick talks about in How Much a Dollar Costs. There are three sociological theories: structural functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. This song really cleverly utilizes symbolic interactionism to set up the song's real themes in conflict theory. Let me show you how. At this point in the song and in the album, Kendrick, the character, has been completely consumed by symbolic interactionism, which simply means that you pick up the views and attitudes and actions of the people around you as you're socialized into adulthood. Kendrick has been socialized into American views, specifically the ones I mentioned earlier about being resistant to giving handouts to the poor and the people that are seen as less than.
Looking at this guy on the side, you know, we stop, we getting gas or whatever, and I'm just ignoring them because from where I come from, these just panhandlers.
Yeah,
you know?
you don't engage.
Yeah, I don't engage. I know what you're gonna do with the money. You're gonna smoke it off. You're gonna get some crack or whatever. Even if how much you tell me that you want to do this, I know what you're gonna do, so I'm not gonna engage in it.
This is a point of view that you'll hear from some of the most staunch advocates against socialism in the United States. And it's part of the reason that normally when you hear a politician bring up socialism, it has such a negative connotation behind it, because that's just how, ironically, we've been socialized into thinking about that political system. The song has a really clever plot twist that actually flips the entire dynamic on its head and moves you more towards conflict theory. Is the moment when the old man reveals himself to be God in human flesh. Kendrick's resistance to helping somebody who is seen as less than is ultimately almost deemed as unchristlike, in the way that when the man reveals himself to be God, the rest of the song he is apologizing and praying to do better later on in his life. Conflict theory doesn't use religion to make this point, but it does constantly state that the wealthy in society have the duty of helping the people that are less fortunate than them, and that normally, especially with racial hierarchies, the people up top don't help the people in the bottom, and most times they keep them as crabs in a bucket to fight amongst themselves and never really climb out of the system so that the wealthy can remain wealthy. Overall, How Much a Dollar Cost is really an anthem for sociology, and specifically for conflict theory. And I just found it so interesting that this story about a simple interaction with a man at a gas station can be flipped into having so many meanings on how our society functions and how the basic humanity that some of us have can be stripped away just by the barrier of money. So I want to talk about another song that's actually quite similar, but also very different from How Much a Dollar Costs, and it's going to be under the field of psychology. Psychology is arguably the most well-known social science of the three. Over 100,000 college students graduated with a psychology degree in 2020, compared to only 27,000 in sociology. Many students actually have access to psychology courses in high school, whether that's through AP or other means. There might even be regular psychology classes, I don't know. The idea of career-wise being a psychologist is talked about in the pop culture a lot more than being a sociologist is. Despite that, J. Cole's skills within psychology still make him stand out, not only as a rapper and an artist, but as a person, because even if a lot of people aspire to be strong in the field of psychology, the ones who do it well put themselves above the rest. J. Cole's ability to dive into the psyche of not only himself, but complete strangers and people that he's close with is unparalleled. Quick Stop actually has a lot of similarities to How Much a Dollar Costs that I didn't even know before researching this video. For one, it's Cole's 10th song on disc 2 of the Fall Off. Kendrick Lamar's song is 11th on his album. I just thought that was cool. But also, the song is only 4 seconds longer than How Much a Dollar Costs. And obviously, it's describing J. Cole's interaction with a man at a gas station. He's not explicitly stated to be homeless in this song. He's just another man that was there. The main difference in these songs is made clear pretty early in Quick Stop, and it's J. Cole's opening lines that we need to change our ways. A primary lesson of this song is the loops of individualism and self-preservation that we can find ourselves consumed in. Cole spends a big majority of the first part of this track going through his mindset. And one of the lines, once in a while, I get in my head too much. He also has, I'm a creature of habit, talking about his struggles with self-care and self-doubt. And this is to set up a change that happens later in the song. The American Psychological Association describes a theme of psychology that J. Cole has nearly perfected throughout his career, which is personality psychology. He emphasizes the cultural expectations, personal desires, and aspects of his own personality that push him to act the way that he does. This song makes a very sudden shift, though, with the introduction of the gas station and the stranger man. Let's keep an eye out for the way that J. Cole's demeanor shifts when he's pushed out of his own comfort zone and has to abandon his usual habits. I got no hoodie, it's bad. He describes himself as a sitting duck. You know, sitting ducks are known to have no control over the environment around them. They're privy to whatever comes in at them. And when the man approaches him, you get the vibe in the song that J. Cole is trying to avoid this man and that he doesn't really want any problems with him. He doesn't have disdain towards him like Kendrick's character does and How Much a Dollar Costs, but he's not really trying to get into that. He doesn't want anything to happen that is outside of his own control. I also found it kind of cool that J. Cole's only moment of real calmness and self-acceptance in this beginning part of the song is when he's listening to T.I.P. rhymes. And I think it's dope that even this early in his life, he identifies that music is the one thing that consistently brings him peace. It's really only through hearing the heartfelt words of the man that J. Cole gets to change his thinking in any way. And in psychology, this is a term called cognitive reframing. It's commonly used in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and it's based on the idea that our feelings are affected by our thoughts, which may seem pretty elementary, but it's really just a flow chart. Your thoughts are the baseline, and your thoughts are going to determine anything else from there. So if J. Cole's in his head too much, or if he constantly thinks lower of himself and he's not self-accepting, that's going to affect the way that he shows up in the world. Cognitive reframing is a form of CBT where somebody's negative thoughts are directly attacked in order to break them down so that they can build up stronger habits and thoughts going forward. Quick Stop's climax is a reminder of the power of psychology in hip-hop. Cole's music for so many people is explained by this last sprint of the song where it's more than just rap, more than the girls that you scrape, more than the riches you stack. Yeah, it's the difference you make. Yeah, it's the difference you make. Yeah, okay. He's so relatable to so many people because of lines like this. And it's kind of interesting, the discourse surrounding him, because you hear some people say that they like that simplicity and they like being able to directly communicate with psychological understanding. Whereas some people, they're into more broader scheme things. They're into more higher level discussions about complexity and sociology. And I think that's where Kendrick and J. Cole fans will divert, is a song like this better than How Much a Dollar Costs? Is it worse? Is it more complex? Is it less complex? I'm not here to give those opinions. Y'all are not paying me the big bucks. But I do think it's really interesting how both of these songs about such a similar theme can evoke completely different emotions, depending on what you're into. Our next social science is what happens across decades and decades of sociological and psychological changes in human societies. And ultimately, it's all about studying culture. This social science is anthropology. Anthropology is made up of 4 subsections: linguistic, the origins and evolutions of language; biological or physical, which is the gradual changes of human bodies; archaeological, which is literally digging up the past to study how past societies operate; and the branch that Aubrey Drake Graham falls into, cultural anthropology. Now, before y'all get mad at me, okay, I know like the culture and everything in the beef. I promise you, I have an explanation. Just let me talk. You're yelling. Just, I got you. Cultural anthropology and Drake actually have really similar upsides and really similar downsides that have been obviously put to light in the last 2.5 years. And I'm going to talk about those both. Cultural anthropology is all about studying how we live and how we interact. Doing so for multiple different societal groups, not just one. Just take a moment right now. I want you to close your eyes. Close them. There you go. Just think about all the different cultures that Drake has represented throughout. Your eyes are still, no, close them. All the different cultures Drake has represented in his music. He's well known for bringing up locations, obviously. His legendary timestamp series, 6 p.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Toronto, 4 p.m. in Calabasas, so on and so on. He has an incredibly varied catalog of cultural songs, whether he's singing in Spanish and collaborating with Bad Bunny, embracing his inner drill, and freestyling with Central C on Off the Radar. His house music, his R&B classics, trap music, America's multicultural core with Atlanta rap, Memphis rap, Bay Area in the most recent album. He collaborates with people from those groups. Drake is by far the most socially active of the big 3, you know. We've seen so many different pop culture attempts and commercials, most recently The Perps. Play that commercial.
Colorway? The Perps? This should change your name to Pevin Perrant right now.
Drake is always the type of guy to stay in the eye of the culture. The Drake song I want to talk about right now is Fort Worth, which has a lot less mentions of his interaction at a gas station, but I still think it's worth talking about. One thing that I noticed off the bat is that he's the only one to specifically name the brand name of the gas station that he's at, which is Circle K. The line is, "Ran out of sodas, I might walk to Circle K by myself." That's literally it, y'all. Obviously, Circle K, especially in America, is a very well-known gas station. And much of Drake's music is based around bringing you the feeling of living his lifestyle, whether that's the peaks of his career or the low points of his career. And he uses cultural landmarks almost as a means to do so, to get you closer to understanding what that feeling is. For example, be honest. When you heard the song Middle of the Ocean, if you haven't, go listen to it. Just play the first 15 seconds. Do any of you guys know what it means to say, "I'm at the Masuni room at the Bebelos"? The boat was rocking too much on some Aaliyah stuff. Oh, you might know that part. How many of us really knew what the Bebelos was before this song? Drake is very well known for shouting out well-known brands, but also trying to culturally elevate things that we don't know much about. And this song alone, if you continue listening, has a whole ton of cultural references, whether that's people that he's slighting or events that have happened. Interestingly enough, the faults of cultural anthropologists was actually exposed for everybody during Drake's rap beef with Kendrick Lamar. K-Dot criticized Drake's use of the culture, and specifically Black culture, to provide personal gain for his own career. That was essentially the thesis of one of his main points in the beef, especially in Not Like Us and Euphoria. These criticisms can actually be applied to some cultural anthropologists as well. Because cultures can be difficult to analyze and study from the individual level, A lot of cultural anthropologists engage in what is called participant observationism, which is essentially secretly inserting yourself into a culture to examine it from the inside out. In these communities, they can gain experiential knowledge about the culture while also helping the people in it, in their day-to-day lives. Drake's roots in Toronto and constant participation in different cultures matches up very well with this explanation. And whether or not you believe Drake steals from the culture or he is genuinely a part of the culture, Drake clearly prides his career on being able to deliver that kind of understanding. Not a psychological one like J. Cole, not a sociological one like Kendrick, but he focuses mainly on those cultural bonds. To platform artists like the Migos, The Weeknd, Party Next Door, and even to an extent Kendrick early in his career, is one of the biggest arguments for him not stealing from the culture. I don't really want to weigh into heavily because it's getting a bit much. You know, you guys have seen all the clips and the back and forths and the grown men yelling at people.
Wasn't my bitch. Bitch, shut the fuck up in 2020.
But the ethical dilemmas that come up with cultural anthropology match up very well with Drake's career. So, to wrap up, we've got 3 songs, 3 social sciences, and 3 super huge artists. And what I want you guys to take away from this video is not that Drake is the best cultural person and Kendrick is the best sociologist. At the end of the day, they all can make songs that have sociological, psychological, and anthropological meanings behind them. But my point with this song is that what these 3 specialize in, and often what their best songs can come from, is when they lean into this part of the social sciences, which is why it's so important that even if you're going into STEM, even if you're going into a field that has nothing to do with social sciences, that you understand and can communicate each different type, because they come up in your life more than you may think. That's it for today's video. I want to thank you guys for watching this way. I want to thank you guys for watching all the way to the end if you have. I did a lot of yapping today. This is probably the most words that a lot of you have heard me speak consecutively, but I appreciate it. Please comment down below if you guys want to see more videos of me talking and, you know, giving my thoughts on different situations. I want to put out some more engineering content, but I thought I'd start with sociology because it's one of my bigger passions right now. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the flip.